Welcome to No Apologies on Beck, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. I'm your host, Rick Becker, our co-host, Lori Hintz.
Hello there.
Hello, hello. Tonight's another good night.
I know, we've got such a really good
It's
time.
a parade
you know what,
of good
people are
nights.
starting to ask me, so what's going to be on the show tonight?
Yeah.
I'm going out and about, and somebody asked me, like, what's on the show tonight? I'm like, well, we're going to talk gun bill. So, yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, tonight and tomorrow night we're going to hit on the bill before Congress.
The federal gun bill.
Federal, yeah. And it's scary. It's frightening. So that's why we're going to break it up into two. So if guns are important to you, you better stay tuned tonight and tomorrow. Call your friends and family that might enjoy it as well. And we've got two guests tonight.
I know, it's great.
Due.
Two different guests, so that'll be cool. Yeah, it'll be excellent. So.
All right.
All right.
Should we dive in?
I think so. Let's do so.
Alrighty.
So the carrier of this bill is a gal named Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas, and she knows nothing about guns. At all.
That's the usual. Yeah, so she's got a HR 127, Sabika Sheik Firearm Licensing and Registration Act. So this is a doozy, folks, and we're going to go through this now. Just for clarification or a reminder, the Second Amendment says,
yes,
a well-regulated militia be necessary for the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Burn that in your brains, folks.
Shall not be infringed.
Because what you're going to hear is the most tyrannical gun bill ever proposed.
I think there's a bit of infringement.
Yeah, a little bit of
I don't know.
infringement.
I could be sensitive, but I think that's the case.
So, all right, we're diving in here. So this is the first page of this HR 127. The Attorney General, through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, shall establish a system for licensing the possession of firearms or ammunition in the United States and for the registration with the Bureau of each firearm present in the United States. Every single gun shall be registered.
Yep, so there's a registration. There is a registration. Flip to the next graphic because some of the information in the registration include the make, the model, serial number, okay? The identity of the owner of the firearm, the date it was acquired, where the firearm is or will be stored.
And it goes on from there too. It's like all your family members, of like all sorts of infringements.
Right. It's we go on to this area too, and so the contents of this database, which are expansive, will be accessible to all members of the public.
What could possibly go wrong?
All law enforcement authorities, all branches of the armed forces, all state and local governments as defined by the Bureau.
Wowza.
So all of this information is going to be available and
totally public.
And definitely not misused.
No, I'm sure it will never be misused.
No, that would not happen. Like what happened with Obama and the IRS and Lois Lerner.
Nothing like that.
That would never happen.
Wow.
All right,
it's
so
shocking. It's just shocking, and the further you go in, the worse it literally gets.
Yeah.
Okay, so people are going to have to undergo psychological evaluations conducted.
If you want a license, now remember, you can't have a firearm unless you have a license.
Right.
It sounds simple, but bear in mind what we just said. You cannot possess a firearm unless the federal government gives you a license to do so. And you must undergo a psychological evaluation.
Crazy. I mean, sorry, that was the wrong choice of words. Sorry, poor choice of words there. But it's true. This is just nuts. Conducted in accordance with paragraph 2, and the evaluation does not include that individual is psychologically unsuited to possess a firearm and successfully completes a training course certified by the Attorney General in the use, safety, and storage of firearms that includes at least 24 hours of training and demonstrates that on issuance of the license, the individual will have, in effect, an insurance policy issued under subsection C. So wait a minute, more insurance?
Yeah. Let's take a break from our graphics here for a second because we've got many. If this passes, you must go through this process when you buy a gun before you can have the gun. But it's important to know you must go through the process within 3 months of them passing the law to be able to keep
the arms you do
the firearms you currently own. If you have a gun and you want to keep it, you will need to undergo a psychological evaluation and you will need to get a license from the federal government to keep your gun.
Do you think everyone's going to comply with this? Do you think anyone's going to comply with this if it passes?
Well, it depends, because eventually we're going to be talking about the penalties.
Right.
They've made the penalties, I want to jump ahead, but
Yes,
they've made
but
the penalties
punitive.
pretty onerous, yes.
Right.
I think a lot of people are not going to comply. And that's the whole issue here, is that, like pretty much all gun laws, this only affects law-abiding citizens.
Of course.
It only affects the people who aren't committing the crimes. And the criminals are not going to legally come by the guns. They're going to illegally come by them, and so they're not going to register them. This will have no effect whatsoever.
Why is it that you want to punish the people who are not the criminal? That just seems a little backwards to me.
Yep.
Perhaps.
So half the country will be made criminals unless they comply by these very significant new restrictions. Half the country. And of course, that's okay with the progressives, because the majority of that half of the country are people that they disagree with politically.
It's just astounding. Should we go back to
Yes,
graphics
let's
and
go
see
next
some more
graphic.
of this carnage? Okay, as we're going here. Okay, so the next one, the evaluation and conducted in compliance with such standards as shall be established by the attorneys general, and the evaluation is conducted by a licensed psychologist approved by the attorney general. So we've got more regulations added
Yep.
to just this part, because you have to have the approved psychologist.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, what do you suppose one of the questions could be? Have you contributed to Donald Trump?
Right.
I know. I mean,
Exactly.
it sounds like I'm being,
No, that's
using
not
a little
even
hyperbole,
far-fetched.
but
That is not even far-fetched.
if you think about the cancel culture, because this is in effect a new mode for the cancel culture.
Correct.
If you voted for, or if you contributed to, or if you made a statement that we disagree with, we can now cancel you from owning a gun.
Right.
It's very, very, very
Terrifying.
concerning.
This is terrifying to me, because it's not only cancel culture, it's at the point where people are going to have to rebel. They'll be forced to rebel. I just can't even imagine that they think that this is even going to possibly be enforced. I can't even fathom how it could be enforced.
Absolutely. Now, if we go on to military-style weapons license, so everyone has to undergo a psychological evaluation just to own a gun,
Right.
and be licensed. But if you want to use a military-style weapon, and we'll get into that in just a moment here, the hoops you have to jump through are much more significant,
Of course.
because now the psychological evaluation applies to other members of your household. Other members of your household. Also, it says here, as a part of the psychological evaluation,
Wow.
a spouse or ex-spouse, former spouse of the individual, two other persons who are a member
At
of the
least
family.
two other persons, right?
Yep, or associates, to determine the emotional stability. And so this is going to be a very, very subjective type of thing. And as we brought out in the red flag bill in North Dakota, there is so much opportunity for vendettas and vindictiveness. If your mother-in-law doesn't like you, or if your stepson is angry at you,
Right.
or your 6-year-old says something that's misconstrued at
In
school,
school, right?
bam, you're done.
Yep.
You are done.
Wow.
What's it? Did it go to the next one, if you would? Oh, no,
We're there,
I jumped
We're
ahead.
there
So
already.
listen, the fee specified in this, that's what I wanted to get to.
Right.
$800 for the fee. Now that doesn't count the other costs. How much is the psychological
Psychologist,
evaluation?
the license, you've got your training, you've got to pay for the training. There are so many fees. It will be onerous, and like you said, it will be just too many fees for you to be able to even purchase
Now-
firearms even.
Yeah, we're coming down, I think, to our time already. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about, I think a graphic was up there a little premature, but we're going to talk about the fines that are associated with this.
Right.
We're going to talk about the aspects of what makes a weapon a military-styled weapon.
And we also have to actually talk about the way that we can combat it within the state. by putting our own rules here to be able to
that
thwart
too.
anything that goes on federally.
That too. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be discussing this again tomorrow night. There is so much to discuss. This is a very, very frightening bill. Stick with us. We're going to have a guest up next.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Heroes and Icons is now Cozy TV. Don't worry, you'll still get your favorite Beck News programming without changing the channel. Real people, real news, Beck News.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. I am very pleased to have with us the Chair of Senate Appropriations, Senator Ray Holmberg from Grand Forks. Thank you very much for being on. I appreciate it.
District 17.
Yes, District 17. District 17.
Very good.
So Ray has been in the legislature for more than a couple years.
Right.
When did you first come in?
I was elected the same time, unfortunately. Jimmy Carter was elected. I won.
Okay.
And Gerald Ford lost.
So you've been in when the Republicans didn't have a majority.
I was in there that 8 years. We called it, the terrible times, the dark ages. But there was an 8-year period where the Republican Party had lost its way in the mid-'80s when times were really tough, and we did not react, and pretty soon Democrats had the governorship and they had the Senate.
Sure. So you've really seen the swooping in change over the years, and now the Republicans have a super majority in both houses. And
it makes a huge difference when you have to give up the gavel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what we had
Absolutely.
to do.
All right, Ray, I want to dive right in. We're going to talk about Senate Concurrent Resolution 4005, and it deals with amendments to the Constitution. And if you don't mind, can you take us through the crux of your bill?
Okay, the crux of the bill, the basic focus was the legislature has tried and very unsuccessfully, and rightly so, to try to change the process by which voters can initiate measures. So this doesn't really address that. It just says that in order for an amendment to be put on the Constitution, we raise the bar. We have a very low bar. It's majority vote in the legislature, majority vote by the voters. And when you look around, over half the states require 60% vote, and 17 states require 2/3 vote of the legislature to put something on the ballot. Well, the legislature has put 8 measures on the ballot since 2014, and only 3 have passed, and they were very simple ones, you know, such things as a legislator should live in his or her own district. You know, I mean,
Important safety tip.
And all 3 of them got over 60% of the vote in both the legislature and by the voters. The other 5 that the legislature has put on the ballot, there was at least one of them that had to be voted on twice in the House in order to get it passed. So what I'm saying is, or what that particular measure says, is the legislature has to have a 60% vote to put something on the ballot. In other words, there has to be a higher level of involvement and support.
So raise the threshold.
You raise the threshold, and that's the focus. But the legislature recently has wanted to do something with that threshold, but they focus on actually the voters, the citizens, because they say, well, we're going to make it tougher for you to put something on the ballot, you know, whether or not you have to have signatures in so many counties or things like that. This leaves that out of it totally. It's a higher threshold, a threshold higher in most states, and look at the U.S. Constitution. 2/3 vote in the Senate and House, and 3/4 of the states, and that's a high bar. And so that's why I put the measure forth. There's also provision in there for that they have to be on the general election ballot, but after doing further research, the problem is most of them are on the general election ballot. Of the last 40, 35 were on the general election ballot, and 5 were on the primary ballot, and 3 of them were put on the primary by the legislature.
Very interesting. So the issue at hand, I think, on why previous attempts were made and why this is a good idea is that it, as you mentioned, the threshold to change the Constitution in North Dakota is so low, which in my opinion is why we see certain things come through that really belong in statute, in our Century Code as a law, not in the Constitution. And we had it with Marcy's Law and the Ethics Commission, in my opinion. Again, the attempts for marijuana, I don't think that belongs in the Constitution. There's so many attempts. So the idea is not to make it hard on the people intentionally, but just to set the bar a little higher, because the Constitution is something that shouldn't just be changed willy-nilly like laws can. So I commend you for that. So I think that the 60% for the legislature and then the 60% bar for the voters is very reasonable. Now, what about initiated measures? Is that also going to be 60%?
That would be the same.
Okay.
Now, this is also a concurrent resolution. So this is a Senate concurrent resolution. The difference between this and, say, a House bill or a Senate bill.
Right. And it changes nothing. This particular measure doesn't touch the signature process, that whole ball game. All it does is say that if a measure is initiated, it has to hit the same 60%.
Yep.
Doesn't change dates or any of the signing things, because the legislature gets itself wrapped up in that.
Minutia.
In the minutia. And the other challenge, and maybe I'll go out on a limb here and say, and the other challenge is we have a higher bar, because there are many who would say that whatever we do to try to change that process, it's because we're mad at the Ethics Commission.
Oh.
And the stink, and I hate to use that word, but the stink is there. You know, the legislature didn't like it. We could have resolved it ourselves, but we didn't. So life goes on. Life goes on.
But yeah, I think that's a very good point, because it could be viewed through that lens, like it's you know, simply a reaction to that. But I think it's more of an awareness of how easy it is and how we need to protect the Constitution, regardless of what happened in the past, just looking forward.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
There's another resolution, House Concurrent Resolution 3018. We've got a graphic of that. It's a pretty simple one. It says an initiated measure may not comprise more than one subject. And I know you're not on this, but because it's topical, I wanted to ask you, especially in light of the, I think, recent news that a judge in South Dakota struck down their recreational marijuana law under the aspect of the measure comprised more than one subject, which would have been against the law. Now, I think that should have been something that the Secretary of State caught. Nevertheless, that's where that's at. Ray, how do you feel about this particular initiated measure that says, go ahead, we or you can put something on the ballot, but it's one subject only?
I think that I don't want to say it's simplistic because I think it has a lot of merit. That you, instead of trying to put together a measure that has, shall we say, things that appeal to this group and this group and this group and this group, to try to get people all involved, has problems. The legislature does it.
Yeah.
You know, they put, even though we have, it says that you're supposed to have, one topic and all germane, but they put together bills that will appeal to this group and that group and that group. And I think that makes it somewhat confusing for the voters, because there might be 5 things in there, 1 or 2 that they really like, and the rest either they don't care about or they don't like, and they will go that way. I think it has merit. The problem is some issues are so complex that it's going to look like it has many different aspects in it. So
gotcha.
I think the beauty of having it through the legislature, this measure, is at least you have the opportunity to have public hearings and people can see the pluses and the minuses of it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Very good.
Ray, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it. Very highly respected member of the Senate, and I'm glad you took the time to be here with us, talk about this resolution. Fantastic.
Well, thank you.
We will be back soon, folks, with another guest, so stay tuned.
Geez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Is an equal opportunity employer. To view the job details, visit www.beck.coop. To apply, email your cover letter and resume to careers@bechtel.coop. Beck Communications, making connections that matter.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
The experienced professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Win $1,000 from the Beck News Fast Cash Contest. On Thursday, February 11th, watch Beck News programming to be entered to win $1,000. Watch Dr. Duke at 4, Ladies of Another View at 4:30, Down the Road with Joel at 5:30, No Apologies with Becker at 9, and No Filter with Debbie at 10. To enter, contact us during any show on Thursday in one of the following methods. That's it. Visit Beck.News for the full contest rules and showtimes. Beck News Fast Cash for $1,000.
Chair of Tax and Finance. Do I have that right? Did I say it backwards? Finance and Tax?
Yeah, there's some that
When
they
it came
don't
out
get
of
it
my
when
mouth, it
you
didn't
call
sound
it
right.
tax and finance. They only know it by finance and tax.
All right. So this guy knows his numbers. And the ins and outs, we've got him here tonight to talk about marijuana tax. So we're talking about, I think we're using the term adult use. Previously it was recreational. But there is a bill in the House that we have the opportunity to pass adult use recreational marijuana. What goes along with that is, how do we tax it? Do we tax it? Those types of questions. We're gonna pull up a graphic here of the bill, and I'm gonna ask Craig, if you would, just to give us kind of the overview of what this bill is about.
Okay, well, that particular section is imposing a gross receipts tax on the retail sales of marijuana in North Dakota, and it's based on purely being sold at the dispensaries that are in existence today that sell medical marijuana.
Okay, so you go to the store, you buy your marijuana, and it's instead of a 7% for clothing or a 10% for alcohol at a bar, it's 15% for marijuana, right?
It is, and we could have put any rate we wanted in there when we drafted the bill. We looked at Colorado, particularly. They had a 15-cent retail tax on marijuana in Colorado. They also allow for the local political subdivision to tack on their retail tax on top of that as well. We decided not to do that in North Dakota. What we did is we took 3 cents of the 15, or 3% of the 15%, and decided we will turn that over for the impacts that come along with it to those cities that have those dispensaries. So those
impacts
8 cities
meaning
will
what? Like what sort of impacts?
That's a
Run
good
out of
question.
Cheetos
Whether
or
it be
I'm like, what?
Yeah, we're in uncharted territory here. And
it's the politics. It's the nature of the politics,
It
right?
is.
And you get some more buy-in by saying, look, we don't. Are there impacts for marijuana? I don't know, maybe, but we're covering it with the tax money.
I see.
Representative Becker, you've been around long enough. You know the political subdivisions, when they feel they're going to be impacted.
Oh, yes.
They're going to be at the
money,
trough.
money, yes. Let's go to the next graphic. This deals with the excise tax. So this is before, and liquor has it as well. I think it's like $5 a gallon for an excise tax on liquor. And I don't know what it is on cigarettes. I don't know if you know, Craig.
I can't say offhand. Again, the design of the bill, we looked at the alcohol tax and our tobacco tax, and where we tax it at 2 different levels, at the distribution end of it and at the retail end. And we really thought that the way that it's going to be grown here in North Dakota, it's strictly going to be grown at the 2 groweries that have been permitted to grow medical marijuana. At least that's the way House Bill 1420 is drafted. And when you look at it in those terms, it really is a privilege to get the opportunity to grow it. And it's well, we don't really know how economical it's going to be. I think that from what I've heard of the types of operations they have for growing the medical, it's going to be a fairly lucrative operation. You know, I think the 15% grower tax is justifiable.
Sure. Gotcha. We're going to flip to the next graphic. This is my final graphic for marijuana stuff. This is from Tax Foundation, and it's as of January, as of last month, what the tax rates are for the states that have it in place already. So I think we're in the ballpark. Clearly, there's some that appear lower. However, I'm not so sure. The protection that local subdivisions can't add on another tax is nice. We don't necessarily have that in here. But you know, Washington we see is 37%. Ours is effectively, you and I talked about it before, 15. After you add in a 15 is, I think, a total not of 30, but 32 and a quarter. Not that that matters, but obviously I'd like to see it lower. My concern, of course, is the more it's taxed, the higher the price. The higher the price, the more people stick with the black market. So you got to find that balance. But you know, I'm happy that's not 60%. You know.
Well, you know, again, we could have stuck and went with any rates we chose, and in fact, you know, that opportunity is still there because this is just the first side and the first look at the bill. When it passes over, if it passes over, you know, they'll take another look at it, and you know, they'll probably get a little more involved with it. They'll have more people contacting them, and because you know, once it crosses over, it's a little bit more on the serious side. You know, this thing really could become law all of a sudden, and I think people will weigh in on those rates, and they very well could be pushed down because of the public input, and you know, that we're all fine with that. That's how the process works, and that's really the way it should work.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great. I'm hoping this passes only because I think it's inevitable. If we don't pass it, it's going to come by another way, and then it could be, you know, a train wreck that we somehow have to fix. And I think it's better just to take care of it legislatively.
I would agree. You know, I really struggle with the concept that I'm actually going to be voting one way or the other to legalize it. That is a real challenge in my mind. I haven't got my arms around it yet, but it is important, and leadership and interested parties thought it was important to have a tax structure ready in case it does pass. And we've also contemplated, you know, the impact. You know, could we pass the tax without passing the bill in case of initiated measure? We understand there's one being drafted at the Secretary of State right now, a constitutional change that has language that allows the legislature to set the tax policy.
Now, where is the bill in process, and what is the feeling amongst cohorts and the Senate?
The tax bill or the legalization bill?
The tax bill.
The tax bill is in my committee, where it awaits movement. Well, no, it's had a hearing.
Okay.
There wasn't any opposition to the bill. So we're just kind of waiting to see how the policy side of it washes out, if they're going to move forward with legalization of adult use marijuana. Then I think the tax policy will become more well, it'll come off the back burner to the front burner. Let's just put it that way.
So call in, folks. Tell them to drop it to 20%. You never know. He said they're open.
Right.
Yeah, anything else on the horizon? We only have, I think, like a minute left. Anything that you're working on in your committee that's of particular interest to the viewers?
Well, you know, there's a lot of legislation. We have some property tax legislation that's going to be on the floor that has generated a lot of interest. It's a bill that's going to seeks to buy down primary residence property tax by using all the earnings from the legacy fund, which I really struggle with because there's other real uses and things that of importance that could be funded with those earnings. And I have a little bit of a struggle with the fact that we're focusing on just one small area of property tax. And, you know, Representative Becker, you've been there as long as well, not as long, but you've seen when we've tried to deal with property taxes, the people have never seen the relief.
No,
and
we did it wrong.
There's nothing in that bill that would change that moving forward.
Now, I think you've had one of the very few good ideas with what to do with legacy fund earnings. And I mean, effectively, you were looking at a way to get rid of all income tax, right?
I am, and honestly, I'm still looking at that.
See, that's fantastic.
That's right.
Viewers are going to love that.
Yes, they will.
Well, there's a streams bill that I've been trying to get attached to this very session. I haven't had success. I've had some promises made. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on with us, Representative Hedlund. He's from District 29, and we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll have you on again. Stick with us, folks. Up next has got to be something good
It's
like
brain
brain
food.
food.
Howdy folks, it's the County Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Win $1,000 from the Beck News Fast Cash Contest. On Thursday, February 11th, watch Beck News programming to be entered to win $1,000. Watch Dr. Duke at 4, Ladies of Another View at 4:30, Down the Road with Joel at 5:30, No Apologies with Becker at 9, and No Filter with Debbie at 10. To enter, contact us during any show on Thursday in one of the following methods. That's it. Visit Beck.News for the full contest rules and showtimes. Beck News Fast Cash for $1,000.
Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. It's time for brain food, but first.
Oh, we have to do a little plug for
What's
Thursday.
the phrase? Cash?
Cash, fast cash.
Fast cash.
Fast cash, there it is.
Beck News Fast
So
Cash.
we're doing the fast cash contest, but it is for one day only, and it is this Thursday, the 11th of February. So
Tune in on Thursday. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be good because you're going to be tuning in because you want to win $1,000. As I've said before, I think 8 people watch the show, so you have a 1 in 8 chance of
Really
winning
good chance.
$1,000. And you can do it by any of these things: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, call.
You can even text it
leave
in.
a
I love
voicemail,
that.
Text it in.
That's fantastic.
Why would you not want $1,000? And it just because the government's going to take 35% of it, including state, is no reason to not still have at least $650.
You can only enter on that day during Beck shows. So very important to know the rules so that you're not cheating. Or that you don't not get entered. So.
Cheat all you want. It's not going to work, though.
All
Cash
right.
back.
All right, fast cash.
Oh,
Okay.
Fast cash.
Sorry. All right, we're going to brain food now, people. All right, my
lordy.
first word is perfidious today. All right, so perfidious is an interesting word. It is first and foremost a word that means false, disloyal, unfaithful, or traitorous. Perfidious, deliberately faithless, treacherous, deceitful. Perfidious is kind of a mean word. If you are two-faced or unfaithful or disloyal, if you are untrustworthy or double-dealing, double-faced, treasonous, recreant, that's an archaic word. But the origin of perfidious is it was first recorded in 1530 or 40 from Latin perfidiosus, or faithless, dishonest, of perfidy, perfidious.
Interesting.
Perfidious.
So
you can use that in a sentence too.
If you're tuning in at 9 o'clock to a channel other than Beck, how perfidious of you.
The word, they had a sentence that I found that said a perfidious lover. So somebody who's treacherous and
disloyal.
Disloyal, yes, unfaithful.
Perfidious.
Perfidious.
Although, I'm not going to go there. I had
Do
a
not
good,
go there.
I had
Don't
a good
go
one.
there.
I want
Just
to.
do your brain food, boy. All right.
Next.
Okay.
What's my brain food? It is this. Show the graphic. Age-related hearing loss. Now, it's called presbycusis. Presbycusis, that could be one of your words.
I guess so.
But I find it fascinating. Now, you can go online and find actual pictures, these little microscopic images. In your inner ear, in the cochlea, there's liquid. And you've got these little tiny cells, and I don't know, I'm not getting too technical here, although I have learned about it at one age. There's these little cells, these little cilia. They're called stereocilia.
Okay.
And I think about them as like the pipes on an organ. Anyway, so sound comes in, it goes through your eardrum, which moves the three bones, which then transmits the waves in your cochlea. And these little pipe organs then move in the fluid, and that's how you hear sound.
Cool.
Now, as we age, some of those little cilia, those pipe organs, snap off.
Oh.
And especially if you hear really loud noise, it's like just this tremendous hurricane wave smashing through, smashes those stereocilia, and these suckers don't regrow.
Right.
You're done-ski. So, like when your buddy shoots the gun right next to your ear and then it's ringing.
Sometimes it can be permanent. Hearing loss.
Well, you should punch.
Well, I was thinking more about kids with canceling,
That too.
headphones and loud stuff like that. And I'm a radio announcer for 40 years, so I wear headphones every day.
Okay, so you and I are in the same age range. I mean, I'm several years younger, but we're generally in the same range.
No, we're not. We're almost exactly the same age. We're very close in age.
I don't know.
Smarty pants. But bar younger.
We would go to concerts. I would go to concerts, and those concerts were so loud that we would joke about whether your ears were still ringing the next day. And
now think about that.
Oh my Lord. Not only that, okay, so I'm gonna end up like my dad. So my dad was telling this story. He's laying in bed, and the crickets were so loud. He was laying in bed, the crickets were really, really loud, and then they were quiet. And he's like,
weird.
oh, thank goodness, they're so quiet. They're just like stopped. He's thinking, did something, go outside my bedroom window to stop the crickets or whatever. And then the next thing you know, they're just loud again and just going like constant.
And
then they stopped again. Well, it turns out my dad was turning and tossing.
So one ear, the other ear.
So when you're hunting, and you've got it's the ear that's up. This ear is kind of protected, right? And so it's the ear that's up that if you don't have hearing protection, those gun blasts, they'll shave those stereocilia right off. So
interesting.
Yeah.
The ears are amazing. Someday I'll talk about the stapes bone. Okay. So we're moving on. My next word is ubiquitous. Now, you use this word all the time. He uses this word often. I've heard him say it already before. It is an adjective that means existing or being everywhere at the same time constantly. Somebody told me one time on the tennis court that I was ubiquitous. I found that a very high compliment. That means I got to every single ball that was being shot around. They get really tired of that. Anyway, did you know that ubiquitous comes to us from the noun ubiquity? It's not very well used, but meaning presence everywhere or in many places simultaneously. Ubiquity first appeared in print in the late 16th century, but ubiquitous didn't make an appearance until 1830. And another noun form, ubiquitousness, arrived around 1874. Both words are ultimately derived from the Latin word for everywhere.
I do use the word. I don't know. It's just
No,
lodged in the
proper
old brain.
context. I mean, I'd complain if you didn't. Like me with.
Not going to bring it up.
Okay, all right.
All right, my next thing, it's, as always, related. Guess what that is? You probably know.
It looks like COVID. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
So those are, that's the tongue. And those are taste buds. The round
Taste
things are taste
buds.
buds.
Oh, cool.
So we also lose some of our taste as we age. It's called hypogeousia with a G-E-U-S.
Okay,
hypogeousia.
got it. Hypogeousia.
And so yeah, it happens. They tend to, the taste buds regenerate. In fact, they can regenerate very quickly. Like if you burn your tongue, why do you not continue to have no taste? It's because they regenerate. But they lose that ability as we age. Now, Laura, I wanted to put up a very
disgusting
provocative picture. I mean, disgusting picture of taste buds,
that.
but I thought that you were going to scold me, so I didn't. We got a very scientific picture showing taste buds. Hypogeousia.
Got it.
Yes.
All right. Brain food. All right. Next time around, this next segment, we're going to be talking about something a little heavier. Yes.
Executive orders.
Executive orders.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county.
Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
The experienced professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to No Apologies, segment 5, final segment of the evening. Thank you for sticking with us. I don't know how you could have left because this show is enthralling.
It's enthralling.
Enthralling. All right.
So we have been going through, just as background for those of you who are new to the program, we've been going through bit by bit, one by one, the executive orders that new President Biden is, it's hard for me to get that out of my mouth, actually is putting forward. So he's done, well, several dozen already of these executive orders. And so bit by bit, we're going through them just so people know exactly all of the things that he's been doing. So.
Yep, we're on number 14.
Okay, so number 14 is termination of the southern border emergency. There is some pushback already on the southern border. Believe you me, the southern border people are saying, nopey nope. So I just read just before the show today that a district judge had struck down that and extended another 2 weeks out, saying no, that executive order is not going to work for us here in this state. So I think it was in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, building a massive wall that spans the entire southern border is not a serious policy solution. It is a waste of money that diverts attention from genuine threats to our homeland security. Dr. Becker, genuine threats to our homeland security would be, just invent something, climate change.
I would say having an extraordinarily porous border would be a threat, but I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
I guess you can't ask me these questions.
Yeah, that seems like a very simple thing, you know, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall, and he did. And I don't know, we didn't have as big of an illegal alien issue, or we saved children. There's so many amazing benefits to that wall that it seems foolhardy. At least the good news is, and I don't even want to say this out loud, but at least they're not tearing the wall down yet.
Well, yet.
Yet is the key word in that sentence.
So the problem is this, again, is more about doing away with the signature programs of the previous president, of President Trump, more than it is about anything seriously good for the country. We talked before about the aspect of lowering the bar, which basically they're lowering it to the ground of letting people in the country.
Right.
Now, for me personally, I'm okay with an open border type policy. Hear me out, Lori.
Okay, sorry. Was I making a face already?
If you can vet people, I mean, you don't if they're carrying, some uranium and a I hate America sticker or whatever, then maybe you want to ask them some more questions.
Good idea.
But here's the thing. The reason I say I'm okay with outside of that with an open border would be in the context if we didn't have a welfare state.
Right.
Because the people that would come here, I mean, the reason that we have done so well for all these many, many decades is because people came here for opportunity to take a risk and make something of their lives and for the lives of their children. What's different when you have a welfare society is that people are not coming for that opportunity to create and produce. They're coming because they are going to be, I guess, better cared for by the state. I don't mean all. And I'm not even going to worry about being painted with a broad brush. What I'm saying is there's a difference between having a welfare state and saying because we have a welfare state, we must be more scrutinizing in who comes across the border versus the other way around. So
very good point. Yeah. There is, of course, no mention either of a serious policy solution in this anywhere. I mean, they really don't go any further and explain what it is that they are saying with regard to the wall. They're just saying it's just not a good idea. So that's very frustrating to me on many, many of these. If you go and you read through the executive orders, you will find there is a common theme. You're going to hear buzzwords, you're going to hear trigger words, and you're going to get repeated themes, and you're also going to get no real explanation of anything, which tells you in no uncertain terms it's just simply canceling the previous guy's EOs.
Right. Yep, it's just thumbing their nose at the president.
Precisely.
But
and grand fashion with many, many, many executive
Hey,
orders.
as
All right,
they
let's
would
go over
say,
one
elections
more.
have consequences.
Well, that's all true. That
And
is all
we,
true.
we have the consequences
We're
of
finding that. So the
through
next
this.
one is the student loan payments paused. So this is of our list, number 15 of the executive orders. At the request of President Biden, the acting Secretary of Education will extend the pause on federal student loan payments and collections and keep the interest rate at 0%. Too many Americans are struggling to pay for basic necessities and to provide for their families. They should not be forced to choose between paying their student loans and putting food on the table. That sounds like
Well-
a commercial.
Well, one thing I want to point out, if you looked at that graphic, the date of the executive order was January 20th. So we're still on day one,
This
by
is
the way.
the first day, right? Think about that.
I have at least 3 of 4 kids that have student loans, and I am still opposed to this by a great deal. Number one, you shouldn't have to decide between paying your student loans and putting food on the table.
Right.
If you wouldn't close down the economy,
right.
you probably wouldn't be putting these people in that situation.
Exactly.
The other thing is that outside of this whole government forced me to lose my job and not have an income, if that didn't exist, then you're talking about making decisions and living with the consequences of those decisions. Did you take on too much debt? Did you decide to go into debt to get a degree for which you're not able to create enough income to pay off the debt? Right. It's just, and then of course we have the whole aspect of, well, who's paying for this? They're not accruing interest. So who's paying for this? Because the interest is accruing.
Right. Well, we will continue with these executive orders. And before we leave tonight, we got a reminder, a little buzz, don't forget Fast Cash. This is our contest. It is this coming Thursday. Do not miss it tomorrow.
Fast Cash!
We will discuss the possibility of Washington, D.C. becoming our 51st state and introduce another legislative
Watch
guest
on
here.
Thursday. Win some cash.
See ya.